Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and welcome back to Batman Be Vlogged, the weekly vlog series where I review an episode of Batman Beyond after watching it for the very first time. Today, we are looking at episode 11, Disappearing Inc., originally aired in May 8th of 1999, written by Stan Berkowitz, directed by Kurt Jetta. And we have a returning villain, as you can tell from the title. Our first returning, well, no, our second returning villain, because we've had Derek Powers. Inque is back. We last saw her in episode 2, Blackout. And I just want to say right off the bat, season 1 is 13 episodes. This is episode 11, so we have 2 episodes left. And, so we've had a really good spread, for the fact that we're 3 episodes away from being done with season 1, and this is only our second instance of a returning villain. I actually really like that. I like the spread that season 1 has given us of all sorts of villains. Like, we've had some returning villains, Derek Powers and Inque. We've had a lot of new villains like Spellbinder, Willie Watt, the Royal Flush Gang, and we've even had legacy villains like Mr. Freeze and Bane. So season 1 so far, like I said, has had a really good spread and a really nice variety. This episode opens with a creeper. As we saw from Blackout, because of her unique abilities and her body composition, Inque had to be cryogenically frozen in order to be imprisoned. And the person looking over her is a total creep. First of all, I'm pretty sure, I'm not going to say anything definite because I don't know what the process was. I think he's modeled after actor Peter Lorre. And not even Peter Lorre. I think he's modeled after animated caricatures of Peter Lorre. He kind of looks like that. Although this character, Aaron, has a really good performance because he's voiced by William H. Macy. And just given where William H. Macy was at his career in 1999. I think Fargo had just come out. Like, it's always weird at this point in time. Like, now in the modern day, 2023, we're kind of in this weird era of prestige television, and you see all these A-listers taking regular recurring roles in TV series. But like I said, for 1999, that's really weird to see. And William H. Macy is really good. He has a good chemistry with Shannon Kelly, who is back as Inque. And they have a good dynamic that I want to talk about more as we go on. If you haven't seen Shameless, William H. Macy is actually, or Fargo for that matter, William H. Macy is really good at playing slimy characters. And Aaron is really slimy. Like I said, this episode opens with him talking to Inque, who is cryogenically frozen, and he makes all these weird passes at her. And before he goes to his boss, who has everything on security camera and is firing him for this, he kisses her. Like, oh, this is so creepy. And in retaliation, he decides to sabotage Inque's cryogenic prison, which frees her. And I think the writing... So I think Blackout is a better episode. Let me start that way. But I think the writing for Inque specifically is better here than it was in Blackout. If you remember my Blackout review, or if you don't remember my Blackout review, I said that Inque was written kind of generically, and it was really the actress Shannon Kelly's performance that really made the character work. So here, it feels like... there was more choice into what kind of character Inque is, probably based on Kelly's performance in that first episode, and it really made her pop off the page even more, because now Kelly is working with has a more defined character to play. I don't remember if I said this in episode when I reviewed Blackout, but I'll say it here, because it feels like Shannon Kelly was playing her as a femme fatale type of character. Even though if you look at the way that episode plays out, Inque isn't really a femme fatale. Here she is. She plays it. She's working to her own ends. She's using seduction as a tool. The only thing that kind of goes against the femme fatale archetype is that she's not morally dubious. She is very clearly the villain. So what is Ink's plan here? Well, after escaping, the being cryogenically frozen has damaged her DNA. It's damaged her composition, so to speak. So like she can no longer um revert to her human form. She is stuck in sort of her, let's call it her combat form for the sake of convenience. So she is manipulating Aaron and his feelings for her into helping her commit a series of robberies to make to get the chemicals she needs to be able to restore her genetic makeup so that she can return to her human form. And then of course get revenge on Batman. That like as soon as Batman enters the picture, she remembered how Derek Powers hired her to kill Batman, and essentially because she's the one because she was imprisoned and defeated, she now wants revenge against them. Speaking of which, performances are all decent. Nothing really to write home about. Nothing outright bad. Nothing great. I will say this episode, Will Friedel's voice sounded off. Like it wasn't a bad performance. He's been consistently good, but something about his voice didn't seem right. It was just a little more gravelly than it is. Like he was trying to deepen it more. Like, you know, kind of how forced his Batman voice sounded in Rebirth. If I had to guess, my guess would be just that Will Friedle was suffering from a cold while this episode was being filmed. That's just my speculation, but yeah, that's really the only thing I noticed, that Friedel's vocal performance just seemed off. Again, not bad, just off. There is a lot of focus on, well, not focus, but Bruce plays a big part in this episode, and I just really like that because once again we have this great chemistry, this great rapport between Terry and Bruce. And I really like seeing their relationship develop, and Will Friedle and Kevin Conroy have great chemistry with each other and play off each other really well. You know, like in a lot of episodes of season 1, as I've kind of observed, Bruce doesn't really get to play a big part. And outside of an episode like this, his biggest parts have been in the episodes featuring Derek Powers. So getting more of Bruce is always a good thing. And especially because he works so well off Will Friedle. We also get a little bit more about Bruce's decision to stop being Batman. You know, it wasn't just that traumatic incident that happened in Rebirth. It was like a culmination of other things. Like in this episode, he built an exosuit designed to amplify his physical strength, but in his old age, Bruce developed a heart condition, and the exosuit he developed only made it worse. Also clever foreshadowing, because Bruce, despite the risks, puts on that suit to go rescue Terry when Inque captures him. And we start getting hints that something more happened. Like Terry repeatedly asks, why did he stop being Batman? Which is something I don't think we ever truly get answered. In the TV show, my friend Kaylee told me what happens in the comics. Bruce Timm, stop it. You're the only one who likes that. Stop trying to make it happen. It's never gonna happen. Bit of a weird tangent, but I don't really have a lot to say on this episode. Oh, Inque is really brutal here. Like, some of the fight sequences that go on, are some of the most brutal we've seen so far. Like, her first fight with Terry is intense. Like, he tries to get in a few hits on her, and his arms and legs get stuck in her. She flings him around the room, crashing him into stuff. And, you know, then she turns her body into liquid and starts forcing it down his throat, trying to choke him. She is brutal here. The fight scenes are once again really well done because Inque, once again, is gorgeously animated. Also, this episode has some really grotesque imagery, I have to say. You know, because it turns out that what Aaron really wants in exchange for helping Inque is he wants to be like her. The process that turned her into what she is, he wants that because he wants the kind of power she has. So, by his own admission, when Bruce comes in to save Terry, she only gives him half the dose, and it kind of mutates him into this hideous thing. And then during the final fight, there's, when Bruce actually shows up to rescue Terry and fights Inque, there's actually this really horrifying moment where Inque tries to absorb Aaron into herself. It doesn't really work. Also, it ends on a really weird note. For how this episode ends, it has this really comedic ending. For how this episode goes, it has this really comedic ending that I don't think quite works. Basically, Aaron is now in Inque's position. He's not cryogenically frozen, but the prison he's in, he has a guard who watches over him and just prattles on about her own life story, the way he did with Inque. Disappearing Inque is one of the better episodes we've seen so far. Like, we've had really great episodes, we've had mid episodes, and we've had bad episodes. I would put Disappearing Inque in above average. So it's between really great, like Rebirth, Shriek, and Spellbound, and it's between mid. What's a good mid episode I think of? Like Meltdown or Dead Man's Hand. But yeah, it's, like I said, brilliantly animated with some really brutal moments that I think are kind of effective. But unfortunately the critiques I do have don't keep it from being truly great. But those are just my thoughts on Disappearing Inque. Have you seen it yet? What are yours? Please start a conversation in the comments below. Remember to like, subscribe, share the video. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Click the bell next to subscribe to get notifications when I upload. Share the video around. All of it helps my channel grow. And in the description box below, you will find the link to my Twitter where you can follow me and get updates on the channel for the time being. This is Sir Jedi Sentinel, and I'll see you guys next time for episode 12.